Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring another QMR set of quick movie reviews. And yes, this time we're back to talk about a plentiful amount more of Steven Seagal films. We're here to talk about The Foreigner, released in 2003, Out of Reach, released in 2004, as well as Into the Sun, 2005, Attack Force, 2006.
Meeting my icon, Catherine Isabel.
Bloody Jacob for sexy, awesome, exclusive content.
Better subscribe and watch my friend on the YouTube channel. He is kicking ass.
Fuck with me and my friends! I'm after my family! Fuck! Oh, I'm just getting started! Get in!
Subscribe.
Yeah, so I've been on a bit of a Seagal-a-thon, if you want to call it that, Sensei Seagal Path to Righteousness, or something like that, I don't know. But yes, I'm back with my love-hate relationship with Steven himself, and I don't really know why. Maybe I'm in denial, maybe I actually enjoy the guy, to some fair extent. At least every time I watch a movie now, I almost feel like I'm not wasting time, so I think that's progress. I mean, okay, let's be honest, past all the sarcastic jokes and stuff like that, I mean, if I'm watching four Steven Seagal movies in 3 days or less, then that means I probably enjoy it to some extent. Let's be honest, that's my reality. I've actually reviewed a fair bit of Steven Seagal movies on this channel now, and that's probably going to keep going up. He has a lot of personal issues. There's a lot of personal stories about him that are very, very less than reputable. How he's talked about other, action stars and martial artists, like Van Damme and others. It's really, really bothered me to no degree. I don't know, I guess I'm just trying to do a case of separating the art from the artist and stuff. I don't know. I'm not saying this is art, but you know what I'm trying to say, but I'm still trying to enjoy each one, or each actor for their own merits, and just kind of go from there. Not trying to get into the comparisons or anything. I don't know. Excuse me. Sorry for those Facebook notifications there, but anyway. The Foreigner, it's our first one up, came out in 2003 and was directed by Michael Oblowitz, who also directed Steven Seagal in Out for a Kill, which I think I reviewed not too long ago. I think I did remember to do a video on that. That one wasn't too bad, had a decent vibe to it, an alright fight scene where a guy kind of ran across a wall. Or not ran across, probably like crawled across it, I guess. It was okay. Had an okay line or two. Wasn't one of his worst, but obviously I forgot a little bit about it. The Foreigner, I think, was a better film, I guess, if you want to say that. In fact, I will go as far as to say besides Into the Sun, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, The Foreigner is probably the second best film on this on the set of movies here. It does try to have a complex plot. Now, it's kind of a case of it actually being clever and intelligent, and a case of it being smarter than it thinks it is. It's about half and half in that regard. In my opinion, it got a little kind of dragged out. I mean, it felt like it could wrap up at like the 50 to an hour mark, I think, is where it felt like it was trying to you know, it should have had like a couple more scenes and that was it, but it went on for about another 35 minutes. I kind of zoned out a little bit, honestly, but it was a little bit more meticulous, a little bit more detailed with what they're trying to do in the story than a typical Seagal film, I guess. You did have Max Ryan as sort of this eccentric, killer that Steven Seagal's character, who by the way is named Jonathan Cold in this movie, was kind of forced to work with on a couple of occasions, but you never knew where the guy's loyalties lied and that kind of thing. He is probably the most interesting character in the movie. But it's kind of a case of they actually build up a decent character, and then Seagal kind of deals with them like nothing when it comes down to it, so it takes away any sort of momentum this character had or intrigue. But I think I've seen Max Ryan in a couple of these other types of films, and he is probably the best part of this one. Also, I do want to mention Anne Louise Plowman, who actually has gone on to be in more reputable work, like Black Sails, for instance, that is a really overlooked Starz series I recommend checking out. She was good in this too, although she kind of has a limited role. She definitely has her appeal in this movie for sure. And there's a couple of the older actors, who Seagal is, sort of working under, who's trying to direct him anyway. I thought they were pretty decent as well. There's a couple decent shootouts, but like I said, the plot really, I felt like, got dragged out, and it felt a bit repetitious. And there's all this mystery around this box, okay? I mean, a freelance agent must transport a package for a mysterious employer, leading him into a web of betrayal and deceit. And yeah, basically, there's not a lot of action. There's a couple decent shootouts, like I said. A couple brief scuffles of Seagal destroying people here and there. But, it never really delivers on all the build-up of what this package actually has going for it. You never really find out that much about what it all means or anything. I don't know. It felt sort of convoluted, or just like there were maybe some pieces missing, I'm not sure. But it was alright, though. There was something lost in the shuffle here, but I guess it had a little more merit on paper than, again, a typical Seagal film. Yeah, I'll get to more of how I'd rank these by the end of the video. It had the ingredients, I'll say that. Out of Reach is going to be our next film, which came out in 2004. And it actually has Matt Schultz, who was in the first Transporter and some other slightly higher budget films, action type films. It's about Bill Lansing. That is Seagal's name in this, because you get it, Seagal is from Lansing, Michigan. I'm from Michigan too, so maybe that's why I'm finally connecting spiritually with a sensei. Who knows? We're both Michiganders. But yeah, Bill Lansing. You see an IMDb that says Billy Ray Lansing. I don't know if they ever actually called him that, but it's Bill Lansing. A former covert agent turned survivalist discovers that the foster program he is using to help a young girl is actually a human trafficking network. Lansing heads overseas to find the girl and shut down the operation. And at first this movie kind of has a weird setup because, okay, why is this 50, 60-year-old guy keeping an eye on this particular little girl at an orphanage or a foster home or what have you? So there's a bit of a odd factor of that, I guess. It never really explains it. Maybe if he was like a distant relative or something like that, they could have said it was his cousin or something that died, or I don't know. Or I don't know, maybe even just someone he served with, they could just plug that in real quick. I don't know. I feel like it needed something like that. But I don't want to bash it because this film actually had a story I felt semi-engaged with. Just for the premise of a human trafficking network being the center of it all. And that's obviously disgusting, and yes, I was very eager to see Seagal roll in there and just destroy the motherfuckers and get the girl back. So that gave me a little more motivation when watching this movie. As compared to The Foreigner, which kind of sucked some energy out of me, but again, it had some ingredients to it. We'll get more to that by the end of the video. I didn't mind the female lead in this, I'll say that as well. Played by Anishiga Wagner. I probably just butchered her name. It had Robbie G in it too. I already mentioned Matt Schultz. And the actress who played the young girl, Irina, she didn't do too bad of a job either. I actually thought she and Seagal had a nice enough dynamic with each other, or they played that well enough as they could without the explanation of why Seagal cared so much about her. And they don't actually see each other until the very end of the movie. And there's also this young boy that ends up helping Seagal when he goes there, and he's trying to figure out what people are hiding that are working at the organization and such. Within the foster home, and who's corrupt, and how he can find the girl. There's a boy there that helps him kind of poke out around some things. I actually kind of liked him. There's a bit of dubbing in this movie, but it's nothing too bad. Not like it is in Attack Force, which we'll get to in a bit. There is again, a couple decent shootouts, a couple kind of quick scuffles. And there's a bit of a sword fight scene because Matt Schultz's character, turns out to be pretty into fencing and such, so we do get a sword fight scene by the end of the movie, and it's alright. You kind of get like this big white mansion, open area sort of setting for it, so it makes it a little bit more visually appealing to look at, I guess, when it happens. Kind of some awkward shots of Seagal and Matt Schultz running up to each other, though, but it's not too bad, I guess. It ends the way you'd expect, but like I said, I had a little bit of an extra motivation to, see it through, just to see Seagal kill all these guys who we see are responsible for this, particular group of human traffickers, so, there is some satisfaction with that, I guess. So, Out of Reach wasn't too bad. I forget if it was this one or Foreigner. It had a really nice but overly emotionally resonant song playing in the credits. I hope it was this one, because that would have made sense to some extent, actually. I don't know. It was okay. They tried to make it a little more character based with what he does for the girl and the boy at the end and such, and it's okay. Of course, in most of these, Seagal doesn't really push himself too much. You get some looks of slight anguish here and there, but I don't know. Once in a while you get that kind of that sly, smirk where he's, seemingly saying something a little bit clever, but hey, you're getting with Seagal, or you're getting with Seagal from an acting standpoint. And then finally, here we go, we're getting into the Sun. Yes, Into the Sun, which is the main reason for me actually wanting to do this video a few days ago until I watched a couple other ones. But Into the Sun came out in 2005, and it's about a government official being killed, an American operative with experience in the Yakuza culture is brought in to investigate. Yeah, basically. I should also mention this movie stars Matt Davis, or Matthew Davis, excuse me, who went on to actually be a pretty damn good actor in The Vampire Diaries and the originals a little bit, as well as Legacies. I know some people don't, some of you don't like those CW shows, but I can promise you if I showed you particular scenes, you'd think, okay, that was actually some decent acting. And Matthew Davis actually became a pretty good actor, in my opinion. But this is around more of his kind of Blood Rain times and such, and I can guarantee, despite the mess of a production that Blood Rain was, he probably enjoyed working with Kristanna Loken just a little more than Steven Seagal. I'm just going to hazard a guess there. If you've seen Blood Rain, you probably know why. And plus, it's Kristanna Loken. She seems to be a really, really nice lady. So, well, some of my more favorite actresses out there, if I had to pick some. But yeah, you have Matthew Davis as Sean Mack. He's an FBI agent assigned to work with Steven Seagal's character, whose character's name in this is Travis Hunter. Still a cheesy kind of odd name, but not quite as bad as the other two, I guess. So you get Seagal, who's growing up in Japan and everything, so he understands the culture, he knows social cues and such, and he's a more experienced agent. And you have Matthew Davis, who of course doesn't know about the culture of it all, and he's a younger agent, so you kind of get a almost buddy cop thing going. You want a little bit more of it because they are actually decent together. I wish I would have been a little more centric on that. But it's alright, it's still good to see Matthew Davis in this. He's not in it a lot, but I did like his role. And Agent Block, who assigns everything, William Atherton, he wasn't too bad. And then I will also say the villains in this, well, I never felt like they were a real threat to Steven Seagal. I will say, sort of like the guys in Out of Reach, except probably more so personality-wise anyway. They definitely felt scummy enough, like, douchebags, and they definitely do some things that make you want to see them get killed brutally by the sensei. So that helped the movie a little bit. And this movie did earn some extra bounty points for me, because some of their henchmen they check in on at this apartment. At one point they're seen playing War of the Monsters on the PS2, and War of the Monsters was one of my all-time favorite video games growing up. Please look up that game if you don't know what it is. A lot of fun. And then they're also seen watching Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, at one point as well. And you guys know how much I love kaiju films, Godzilla and Gamera especially, so that kind of made me giddy. So yeah, that got it some extra points for me. But this movie was surprisingly pretty decent. Seagal, again, well, his acting range is what you'd expect. He actually seemed a little bit more focused here, I want to say. And apparently, unlike a lot of the stories you'll hear about Seagal Productions, apparently the director, one of the writers or something, actually had a decent experience working with the guy. And he said the only issues they really faced was like film scheduling and stuff like that. But working with Seagal apparently was a good experience. And Seagal, he co-wrote the story as well, as well as the screenplay and such. And you can tell maybe he actually sort of cared about this and he was invested, and it showed a bit. Which is why I think this is maybe his best 2000s direct-to-video film, and actually probably like it more than a couple of his prime 80s, 90s movies. Honestly, I did kind of like this one actually. It does get quite violent. There's a bit of stunt double work, of course, but it's not as noticeable as all the other ones in this video, which none of them are the most terrible I've seen in that regard either, but it's really not too bad with how they shoot it into the sun. It's not as noticeable, and he might have actually done more work himself, which is good. And you actually get to see Seagal, or hear Seagal speak Japanese, which he did. Apparently he was a bit embarrassed that his Japanese was rusty in this movie, but I think he actually did a pretty good job, and I appreciated that he actually did that. So again, showing that maybe he actually cared about how this movie turned out. And the movie plays out nicely. I think it's plotted. It's plotted well enough. It moves along well enough. It feels like a decent kind of Yakuza crime action flick, and I enjoyed it. It would probably be within my top 10 Steven Seagal movies. Again, like I said, maybe I like it more than even like 2 or 3 or more of the 90s films that people like more most of the time. And there's a pretty violent sword, climax at the end where they go for the main baddie. And you get a few pretty violent kills in it, and it honestly is pretty satisfying. I remember him taking a kick and he goes flying through a table or something, and Seagal also gets cut in the leg with a sword at one point, so you get to see him take a wee bit of damage anyway. So that helped a little bit. Would have liked more, but still, there's a lot of violence going around that it made up for some of it. It felt like there's enough to it, enough going on screen anyway. And it was entertaining. It was a couple good sequences. And again, I'm not saying it's the greatest thing ever, but I was pleasantly surprised with Into the Sun. It was one of the better ones, not just for Seagal, but action flicks I've watched in a while. So yeah, actually really liked Into the Sun. And our last one is going to be kind of changing tones a little bit. It came out in 2006. It's called Attack Force, and I absolutely hate the cover to this movie. No matter what enjoyment I managed to garner out of it, that cover's just awful. It's a bit of a bland coloring. Not just that, I don't remember them ever being in the woods, if those are one of those trees in the background. and obviously the body isn't exactly accurate, and he never actually dual wields those weapons in the movie, so I don't know. This movie really had a very, very troubled production, and I gotta talk about the director, Michael Kush. He directed Steven Seagal and Shadow Man, which I have yet to watch, and also Flight of Fury after this one. Apparently they were in like a 3-movie contract or something together, and they didn't really get along too well. This is where some of those stories about Steven Seagal being late to set for various means, like for women, and just not being on set until like late in the afternoon on some days, or out late drinking. I don't know. And this movie is also very infamous for an extreme amount of dubbing. The guy who voices Seagal sounds like a combination. I love Thomas Jane, okay, so don't take that from this, but his dub voice sounds like a combination of an office rocker Thomas Jane, I'd say one of the Family Guy voice actors doing a Jack Nicholson voice, as well as like a John Wayne or like a Japanese kaiju film voice actor, together. So that's how he came across. I don't even know. And it's just so weird sometimes, because you'll have Steven Seagal actually, giving one of the lines himself, then like the very next line, also it'll be the dub guy. So I don't get it. Are his whispers that bad? I mean, I imagine if as troubled as this production already was, he didn't want to come back to do the ADR, I know that. But were his whispers really that inaudible? I don't know. I would prefer just to barely hear it to them doing this dub line. I don't know. This sounds so off. Like, do the dubs even try to sound like the guy they're dubbing over? I don't know. It was a little silly, but I had heard so much negativity about this movie for a while, and I definitely get it. This movie definitely could have been more, because it was going to lean even more into like a sci-fi direction, and even a more alien type of reveal, instead of it just being kind of man-made drugs and such that were sort of enhancing these criminals in some weird ways. Steven Seagal didn't want to go for it. He wanted to go for more of a Predator 2 thing or something. I don't know. Which again had a real alien in it, so I don't know. I'm getting my stories mixed up here. But it was alright. They still had a bit of a sci-fi thing going to it. So it made it a little bit different than your typical just point and shoot, quickly disarm guy affair, I guess. It's just funny though, these, enhanced people or whatever, they end up, dispatching, some of Seagal's crew so, like, quickly and violently, but then they can never lay a hand on Seagal. I think he gets hit, once. He takes, like, a decent shot with the main, villainess, at the end of the film. He takes, like, one hit, but, come on, just get thrown through a wall once like the other guys, or just get hit a couple times, or be on the ground once. That's all I ask from you, Sensei, in this. But, with all that long-winded explanation of the film's production, I will say, I don't think this movie is quite as terrible as you've seen all over the internet all these years. I mean, it's definitely not great, but I had some fun with it. I got some enjoyment out of it. I don't think it was Seagal's most dull affair of the 2000s either. Mercenary for Justice is definitely the dullest time I've had with a Seagal movie. I think it was better than that. I think it was better than Submerged. I'd have to look at the others, but I don't think it's my least favorite. And it's probably because I love the like a sci-fi or horror genre so much. It probably makes me more of a sucker for this than some people. But I don't know. I had some fun with it. There's a couple unflattering close-up shots of Seagal when he's fighting the main lady at the end. I don't know why they went for those angles. You know what I mean if you watch the movie. But it's fine, he doesn't have too much trouble with anyone minus the hits I already told you about. But it goes on for a few extra minutes than you might expect, so at least there's that. You get to see Seagal sort of, moving a little bit more than you might think. Seagal, or who's supposed to be Seagal in both. But yeah, you have like a random character survive with him at the end. The main actress in this was alright. She had some promise to her, but they don't really go anywhere with her character. But still, not the worst time I had with the Seagal movie. I don't know. I wouldn't mind having it. And that makes me crazy. I don't know. Shoot me. But yeah, so there it is. My thoughts on all these Seagal movies. More to come, I'm sure, at some point for one reason or another. If I had to rank them, Into the Sun is definitely the best one. After that, objectively the best one was probably The Foreigner. But in terms of movie I maybe had the best time with, it might have actually been Attack Force or Out of Reach. I'm not sure. But I'd probably put The Foreigner in second or maybe third place, and then one of the other ones after that. If I had to rate Into the Sun, I don't know, I'd give it between like an 82-85%, or anywhere between like an 80-85%, I guess. I was pleasantly surprised by that one, as you guys know. Foreigner, again, it had ingredients to it, but it just didn't gel as well and really felt dragged out. I'd give it, I don't know, I'd give it like a 73-76%, somewhere in there. Out of Reach, probably put the range a little bit lower, like a 71-74. And Attack Force, probably about a 60, anywhere from a 66% to like a 75%. I don't know. First, I didn't mind. It depends on the day. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I've been talking for over 25 minutes now about Sensei Seagal in these movies. But again, apparently I get some enjoyment out of it, so I'm going to keep fighting myself, but it is what it is. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe. Hope you guys have all been safe out there for whoever listened this long. And catch you guys next time. Did I already say Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram and all that? Yeah. Peace.